Sanders.
Thank you.
I think this may be the email we received.
Now we get this, we don't have time to read this.
We have the privilege of going into a private session. We can do with that.
Okay. Did you hear that, Frank? He said if you'd like to go into private session, you can. And then you can do that.
Okay, we call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Dana Gamblin, Gary Gundelsberger,
Here.
Walt Matthews, Sharon Johnson,
Here.
Janice Warner,
Here.
Don Sherrod,
Here.
Lisa Mazunga. Here.
Thank you. We'll have the swearing in of anyone who is planning to speak today on these issues, if you would follow the direction of our secretary.
Because this is an adjudication hearing that is based on facts, not public opinion, therefore everyone that is going to testify must be sworn in. If you wish to testify, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
You're all sworn in.
Thank you. If we can have the approval of the previous minutes from June 27, 2023.
So moved?
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have one note in the minutes. It notes about his approval for a bank loan, and I don't think that he was approved for the bank loan, so I don't know if that will affect anything in the future, but maybe if there's something that can be said about his not, it was like, he said it was pending the beautification grant approval, and he just spoke with somebody. It wasn't an approval from the bank.
You speaking in regards
Oh.
to Mr.
Yeah.
Laurel, or Laurel?
Yes, Laura. Mr. Johnson.
Duly noted. Okay, all in favor? Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Gundelsberger,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Warner,
Yes.
Mr. Sherrod,
Yes.
Mrs. Mazunga.
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes. Now we'll have an update on the housing development funding. We received an email dated June 28, 2023.
All right.
So the figure that you show, did everybody receive that document spreadsheet? Okay, so we're still sitting currently at the 15,000 to 2935.
That is what was spent, correct?
We have only committed, yes, so there should be 34,000 and change. With 50,000 was the total balance to begin with. So minus the 15,000, we should be around 34,000.
Okay, real good, thank you. Let's see, old business. I don't see any old business on the schedule, but does anyone have any old business to mention? I hear nothing, so we'll move on to new business.
Hi, I take it that you're Mr. Sanders' attorney?
Yes.
Okay, I just need to swear you in.
Yes.
Because this is an adjudication hearing that is based on facts and not public opinion, everyone will need to be sworn in. If you will raise your right hand. If you wish to testify, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you're sworn in. Thank you. New business case number 190399 and case number 222237 is appealing the notice and order of demolition for property address 331 Perry Street, Sandusky, Ohio, parcel number 56002828.000.
Okay, I would like to hear from our code officer at this time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
This is just for 331.
Well, I'm sorry, 331 is the first packet of pictures, the back, they both pertain to both 736 and 331.
Okay.
No, they don't see the whole picture.
You gotta change your source to BC.
Thank you. 331 Perry, this is for the Housing Appeals Board, July 25th, 2023. My name is Angela Kasopoulos. I'm a code compliance officer with the city of Sandusky. On the 29th of 2022, we received a complaint from no heat at 331 Perry Street. When I arrived, the back of the residence was in structural failure, so I called Scott Tom over to the scene. He inspected with me and advised that was a 71% deteriorated, dilapidated, and damaged from its original form. Carrie was the tenant. She signed there. There's Scott Tom's report, 71%. The gas had been turned off and red tagged in April, and again, this is November, when I'm there, November 29th. They had not had heat since then, and that's obviously what her original complaint was. It failed the pressure test, so they did not even run the line, to my knowledge, because of that. For the exterior, there is broken windows, fascia, soffit, and drip head damage in the front, missing gutter and damage on the sides. Windows show deterioration. They're not weather tight or weatherproof. The lower portion of the house, when you look at it, has fallen down and inward. That's the front. A closer look, the facade is crumbling due to the pressure. And you can see there that the front is collapsing inward, that tilted angle. The shed is in deterioration and full collapse in the back. There's heavy roof damage with sunken areas. Siding is deteriorated, but falling off due to the foundation movement underneath. Signs of deterioration. That hole has been there for quite a while. Many years ago, we had a problem with sewage coming out of there and going down the sidewalk. And that foundation has been open, and as you can see, that wall there is collapsing. This is the wall that was in the kitchen falling apart. It's just, originally, it's like a particle board or plywood was not painted, so years of deterioration through the weather. It's just kind of like paper thin now, and it's not protecting the structure at all. If you can, in one of the pictures I took today, you can see where underneath the window, there's like a gap now in the pictures today. Just more damage. That's the front of the shed, which appears to be better than the back, but still needs covering. There's not any maintenance to that wood. There's a piece of fascia that was replaced, but tied into damaged areas in the front, and it's missing the gutter. They had fly strips up because obviously they were getting bugs and everything from the elements and the way that the back wall was falling off. The counter and sink were collapsing, but the sink actually fell inside because the countertop was being pulled away, so there was no support structure there. So the plumbing underneath was no good either. That's where the cabinets were falling apart, and the floor, the cabinets are falling through the floor. This is ceiling damage on the front. It says bedroom, but I'm pretty sure that's the front living room. It would be the first floor in the front. These are just pictures of wall damage throughout because of the shifting. That is a live wire. The tenant said that it would spark periodically. It wasn't sparking the day I was there, but it also wasn't tied up. It was just an open wire. The windows are in disrepair, not weatherproof or watertight. Here's the first hole. It's in the porch area. Someone was sleeping there, and the hole is about 2 foot by 3.5 or 4 foot. This is the other hole that's way bigger. It was about 5 foot in circumference in one of the bedrooms from the water damage getting into the wall. Flooring damage. The one in the bathroom where you see my foot, that was spongy. They had like a sticky tile on top so you couldn't see the visible damage, but when you stood there, it sunk down. I don't know if there's a leak there at one time because that was an interior wall. And there's the original violation letter that was sent to 5 properties. Signed. Okay, I made contact was waiting with Imagine Fleming, who was the then property manager. She requested more time. This was pertaining to the gas being turned off or non-existent. She was not posted at 24 hours like typical because she had asked to have more time. So we posted it December 2nd. Housing manager Steve Rucker and myself spoke to Imagine and the owner Garrett White, together with them advising they were going to put the displaced tenant up in a hotel. The tenant told us they were not going to do anything because she hadn't paid them. So she hasn't been able to cook and has no heat since spring, and conditions of the house are uninhabitable. So we explained to the owner, the property manager, that they must find housing immediately because the house would be condemned. They did not, we did, and the house was condemned. Criminal charges were typed up for the property manager, but due to Mr. Kyle Sanders, Evan Sanders stepping in, they were not served. This is the notice of 24 hours to restore heat. We do that typically, like I said, as soon as we find out, we usually give them 24 hours. We gave her longer. There's the posting. The condemnation letter because that was never done. Certificate of mailing. And then the order of demolition, dated December 12th of 2022. Certified was served on December 14th. First appeal, Mr. Sanders, $15, but he did say in January that he would not like this property to be destroyed, that he would like to fix all aspects of the property and make it fit for living. He has put together a working team, per Mr. Sanders, to meet the needs of all parties involved and are extremely dedicated to revitalization of this property. We waited until April 20th and filed the affidavit for demolition, the county recorder. We received this new appeal because it was permitted on July 10th. And they say that they, as new owners, they're going to extensively work to get the property to a habitable stage. They will be rehabbing the entire house. They, per his statement, already started work on the outside and the inside. And again, per his statement, the property is worthy to be saved. Now, on July 11th, I couldn't find 5 Properties LLC or Kyle on the Secretary website. The papers I give you, 5 Properties LLC is found on Open LLCs, just through a Google search, not the Secretary of State. And Kyle is the statutory agent for the Alliance Property Management, which you guys already know of. Mr. Sanders turned in a land contract status, and it is my recommendation that we continue with the demolition, that we uphold the appeal. I'm sorry, that we deny the appeal, continue with the demolition process, and remove this unsafe residence due to years of neglect. Not saying it's Mr. Sanders' fault, but this woman lived there for years and didn't call us because her wall was falling off. She called us because she didn't have heat. Any questions?
Yes. Were any appeals filed on behalf of 5 Property Investments to these notices that they received?
Through Kyle. I think the first one in July, possibly,
The,
or I'm sorry, not in January.
the appeal that, you're saying the appeal that he didn't pay for? Besides that? Okay, so, Mr. Sanders, I wonder if you could step over to the microphone? Yes, sir. Podium? And if you would state your name and your address, please, for the record.
Evan Kyle Sanders, 514 Poplar Street, Sandusky.
Thank you. So the appeal that you filed in January of 2023, it appears that you had some official standing with 5 Property Investments. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, you were the operator, is that right?
correct.
The operator. And what did you do as the operator?
As the operator, I made sure that repairs were made, made sure that they were sending their rent in. That was not my capacity as of January. January, my only capacity was to repair as they deemed necessary.
So anything that happened prior to January, you had no involvement as far as
Correct.
repairs, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. We've received some information from code enforcement regarding Alliance Property Management Services LLC, which you're involved with this as well. You're leaving 5 Property Investments and stepping into Alliance Property Management, correct?
No,
You're not.
no. So what it is that I own Alliance Property Management.
Okay.
I started Alliance Property Management. What Alliance Property Management did, we stepped in for 5 Property Investments to help them with repairs of the properties that they had. Anything that they asked me to do, if we were able to do it, we did it. That's what we did. And we bought out 5 Property Investments.
You're in the process of buying out.
Correct.
It's a lengthy process, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're, if I understand things correctly, you're making payments towards purchasing them once a month for 50 months, is that right?
Correct.
So you won't be the owner of 5 Property Investments for 4 years,
No.
right?
No.
Okay, all right. So anyways, let's get back to this timeline that you provided to code enforcement
Yes, sir.
sometime ago, back in April.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I read here, it says on 4/3, there will be an inspection, 4/3/23, there will be an inspection on all the houses. After this, work on code violations will also start the following week, 4/10/23. So for 331 Perry, 4/17/23, it's showing clean out of premises. Has that happened?
No. If I could interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
So with the timeline, that timeline was tentative, as things were fluid and we were trying to figure out what happened with everything. We did do an inspection on the properties that's listed, and got some things going as well, in the area of code enforcement is involved. We did not start work on 331 Perry Street because we were looking at everything that we needed to do to Perry Street in order to make it livable.
Okay, so as far as structural investigation?
Structural investigation, yes, all of that happened, and it was basically deemed that I want to sell it. If you look on the first page, if you go to the book.
What you handed out tonight?
Yes, sir, please. You would go to the packet that I handed you.
It's just handed out. We couldn't absorb this.
So the second page is Perry Street, parcel number 5600828. This property was built in 1920, inspection on 11/29/22. Upon inspection, it was discovered to have the following violations, which Ms. Kopostopoulos, Angie, had already, said. We've been working together with that property for as long as I can remember, because we have a good working relationship with that. So all of the things she said were correct when I did enter the property. I seen the sink was falling in, the wall was dilapidated, everything that she said was correct in regards to 331 Perry Street. Exterior repairs for that house would be the siding, the foundation, patchwork. That's light. That's not even a full foundation job. That's just getting the front of the house stood back up. That's nothing else. The windows and doors, $5,000, landscaping, concrete work, $2,500. So, that equates to a lot. Then you have the kitchen, which would have to be torn completely out because of the dilapidated structure. The roof would have to come off, and they would have to rebuild the entire structure in the back. That would be around 10 on the low end. 10 on the low end. So the bathroom would also be about $1,500 because the floor is spongy, so the subfloor has to be replaced as well. Paint for the house and more subfloors and finished flooring, $6,000. So altogether, this project is $51,300 on the low end. So we will be listing this property for sale, just to see what happens. Quick sale, nothing long, nothing lengthy. With Century 21 Realty, we will start that process probably tomorrow after this meeting. I've already contacted a real estate agent on that just to get the ball rolling to see if we can get some funds and maybe they can fix it. Somebody who has a better plan.
Okay.
Because we're not interested in fixing 331 Perry Street as of now.
Okay. Well, that said, I'm confused because the point of this hearing is to appeal the order of demolition.
Mhm.
We have that ability to act on that issue.
Yes.
I was under the impression that you were interested in making repairs to these properties.
Yes, I am interested in making repairs to these properties, but this one in particular, I am not. I'm looking to just simply sell it or let you guys tear it down. And that's what I'm looking at for this one. Because the cost is so high for this house, it's gonna take me longer than the time you guys want me to take in order to fix it.
And my personal opinion is that this is a very conservative number.
Very conservative.
Have you consulted with a structural engineer to determine whether the house is savable?
Yes.
And who was the,
Guys out of Cleveland, I can't remember their names, but they're actually friends with 5 Properties, but I think they come out of Cleveland. But 5 Properties also said that this house is
it would be.
not worthy to be saved.
Yes, as we move forward on this whole process of dealing with these 3 properties, let's keep in mind that providing the board with documentation on who you're dealing with, okay? Friends, I don't know,
Right.
whatever. People that are going to be doing work and performing services on any of these structures need to be registered with the city. You realize that?
Yes.
That goes as far as along with repairs on these structures, registered with the city. So we want to make sure that the right people are involved in the repairs. Okay?
That's right.
But 51,000, that sounds
It's very conservative.
very conservative.
Yes.
I'm concerned that you may involve that kind of money and not begin to solve the problem. Maybe you will, I don't know. What kind of budget do you have available to you to deal with all 3 of these properties that are on our agenda?
All 3 of these properties, I have a line of credit with Dr. Sanders. He was supposed to be here today, but we had a death at the church, so he had to attend to that. So he has given me a line of credit through him. So
And that is what?
$200,000.
Around $200,000.
Yes.
We have nothing in writing, nothing,
No, he was supposed to be here today to testify to that, but he got called away.
let me ask you something. The $200,000 that you're talking about, is that dedicated to repair only?
Yes.
Or is that dedicated to the purchase of these properties, which, if I understand that correctly, you're going to be expending $100,000 to purchase the rights to 5 property investments,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Plus $20,000 up front. And then there's a matter of unpaid property taxes. Is that included in that $200,000 number?
No. No, the $200,000 number is just for repairs.
So,
We have already taken care of the deposit. We take care of all the bills. I don't think the board has anything to worry about when it comes to me performing my duty as with the bills, because I'm going to get them done. This is my deal, so I'm going to make my deal work as much as I need to make it work.
are you registered with the city of Sandusky? as far
I think
as-
my company used to be. I'm not. We didn't re-up a few years back, but I know we used to be a few years back.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a $300,000, at least $300,000 involved in this
Would he be responsible?
moving forward, if my math is correct. Roughly 300,000? By the time you purchase the properties, spend $20,000 up front for the properties, and then start repairing things, 200,000 is available. That sounds like 300,000.
No, the 200,000 is not included in the purchase of the properties.
Okay, it's not included, so the purchase of the properties.
The purchase of the properties comes out of my pocket, not this.
Regardless, wherever it comes from, it's $200,000 available for rehab, and it's another $100,000 that you're paying.
Correct.
Right,
Correct.
that's $300,000.
Correct. But that has nothing to do with the $200,000 rehab budget.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Sharon?
What does Dr. Sanders have to do with this? Is he related to you?
Yes, he is my uncle.
Your uncle?
Yes.
Okay. And he's loaning you the 200,000.
He's giving me a line of credit. As I need, he gives me the money, and I pay him back.
Okay, do you have a legal agreement on that?
No, not right now, no.
Okay. On the land contract, we received that, and I was wondering if Justin would give us an opinion on that, whether that's a legal document and whether that had to be notarized, because Dr. Sanders was a witness, but there was no notary seal or anything on that. I'd like to hear from Justin on that.
Yes, so I've briefed Justin on this issue, and so we've talked about this land contract. It is the law department's opinion that his name is not on the deed, so he is not the property owner. You're correct, there is no notary found on here. However, I think the big legal issue you should take away is, in our opinion, he is not the legal owner.
So that land contract that was drawn up was illegal?
No, I'm not saying it's illegal, sorry.
Yeah, the legal department, the land contract is a land contract. It doesn't necessarily have to be notarized. Obviously, it would be nice if it was recorded, but that, be it as it may, we have the titled owner of the property. The current deeds are in the name of the property that has this property condemned. It's on the condemned order. There's really this process starting over again because there's a change in ownership.
I know, that's
It's really
confusing.
There's not really a change of ownership, so to the extent that we would proceed to demolition for the property, I mean, he can buy property that has a house demoed on it. Obviously, no one can stop him from doing that.
Okay, so who are we dealing with then? 5 properties? That's the one we're dealing with?
That should be the one filing any appeals.
And they're not here tonight?
That's my first thing.
Who's behind, wait a minute, who's behind 5 properties? Who is the owner?
Garrett White is the owner.
Who is?
Garrett White is the owner. I am the person who bought out 5 property investments.
Okay, but right now, you're not a factor because you don't own this land.
I bought out 5 property investments. So if I could have, if.
Ms.
you would
Wilbur,
let-
I mean, Ms. Wilbur,
Wilbur,
his attorney's here, and we're
Here.
trying to get to the bottom of it as well, Sharon, just in terms of who the players are.
Right.
The actual company, 5 properties, if what you're saying is he has standing because he's the owner of 5 properties, he purchased 5 properties. So it's not a new owner, the same company still owns it. I mean, frankly, we went to this appeal process with 5 properties, so it's really a nullity. This is like a second bite at the apple, so to speak. Because if you're saying 5 properties is your company, my understanding is that we're before the Housing Appeals Board already, right? 5 properties?
Yeah, 2 of them, yeah.
Two of the 3
Yeah.
properties have already been,
Right. 331 has not.
they've asked you for more time to get a plan in place, my understanding. Obviously, my first day was yesterday, Sharon, but Sarah and I doing a good job of getting up to speed. My understanding is that 5 properties had an opportunity to issue a plan and get the property rehabbed. Those dates have come and gone. Frankly, legally, if you guys wanted to demo the properties, you could demo the properties. I know this young gentleman has come in indicating that he has a plan in place. From what I'm hearing with respect to 331 at least, you have no intentions of rehabbing it. So Mr. Gundelsberger, Mr. Chair, is correct in the sense that your decision here today is basically, do you give him more time to rehab it or not? I think in his proposal, he's asking time to sell it. I mean, my advice, I can't give you legal advice. Obviously, you have Ms. Wilbur here, who's an excellent attorney. I mean, I don't know if you would sell it to a person who's buying a condemned property that could be condemned. Maybe they want an empty lot. And then there may be issues.
Can you put that mic up closer to you, Justin?
Then there may be issues, obviously, that you have to deal with, the city's various departments on whether you can even build on it once it's demoed. So I don't know what you would get from it. I mean, frankly, if I were you, I would have gone back to the folks who sold you 5 properties and carve out these 3 properties that they sold you a bag of goods. But you're right, the issue is almost moot for at least two properties that have come here before. If you're saying that you're the same owner, I mean, a company is an individual, so 5 properties has had their opportunity to be heard, irrespective of who's changed ownerships. And if you guys gave them a time to repair and come back to the board with a plan and they haven't, you could deny the appeal, at least with regard to the 2 properties. The third property, is that the Park Street one?
No, third property is the one we're hearing now. This is the only one that hasn't been in front of the board.
We're just taking them one at a time here.
Oh, okay.
Worst property.
Yeah, the worst one.
So the other properties have been in front of the board already on behalf of 5 properties, so 5 properties had their due process. I mean, it's unfortunate that they may have sold you the company and not disclosed that to you, but they've been here, they're the titled owner to the property, you just bought the company. So, I mean, that basis alone, you could deny the appeal, but I know you guys have been cooperative with listening to folks in terms of what they want to do.
Well, my point in asking about whether or not 5 Property Investments filed any appeals on the notice of demolition at the time that document was served.
On 331, they did not.
On 331, they did not.
Yes.
They've had an opportunity to act, and they didn't.
Correct.
So the point is moot at this point.
Right.
That's correct, legally.
On this issue, on 331, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right.
They've had an opportunity. They didn't act on the appeal, which is their right. They had a time frame to do it. They didn't do it. And then, in January, you filed an appeal on behalf of 5 Property Investments. You began to file an appeal. You documented why you wanted to do this, but you didn't pay a $15 fee. That's required. It's right in the code.
Yes.
So that's why it didn't move forward.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I'm very aware of that, which is
I
why
don't know
I'm
that
back to my point of saying I'm okay with this being torn down.
Do you have something to?
Yeah, I have, so, did anybody print out that land contract that we got emailed today?
Pardon me?
The land contract
Yeah.
that we got emailed today, do you have that?
I have it.
Somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
I just saw it a second ago.
Right here, this is the land contract.
Oh, yeah,
So-
okay.
Here it
Yeah.
is. Okay, good.
So, Alliance Property Management, you are the owner of that, and you are buying 5 property investments, or are you buying the properties?
I'm buying 5 property investments,
Okay,
the whole package deal.
because with a land contract, it would be, if you were buying the properties and not 5 property investments, the LLC, if it was a land contract for the properties, that would be considered a change of ownership, I believe. But since you're buying 5 property investments, I don't think there's a change of ownership, right? Is that what we kind of
Yeah.
concluded?
No, unless it transfers with the auditors, we keep it as the original owner until
Okay.
that point where it tips to the more revenue is in the one owner, then they transfer it
Right,
into the other person's name.
sometimes the auditor does have a land contract if it's noted with them, and they won't have a change of ownership, but they'll just have the land contract noted, because it's considered seller financing. So I just was wondering if this, so since this isn't a land contract for the properties, it's like a land contract, or it's not a land contract, basically.
It's a contract for the business.
It's the contract for the business. Right. Okay. That was my.
I'm curious about the land contract in itself, what we have here, this document.
It's not a land contract.
I've spoken with the recorder's office today. If I understand the Ohio Revised Code correctly, there's supposed to be a filing within 20 days of the signed agreement with the recorder. They've received nothing. Now, this occurred March 30th, and here it is July 25th, and nothing's occurred. So I'm curious about that. Somebody may have missed that. I don't know. But I think our issue is well understood, and unless anyone else has any further discussion.
I just wanted to, this land contract here, I took the liberty of going through this. And let's see, there's 10 properties that you want to take ownership of. And there's, out of the 10, there's 3 demos and 7 other properties that are in code violations. That's not a good track record.
I have nothing to do with previous code violations.
Okay, I just wanted to make that point. And can I make a motion on this?
Hold up one second. I will get to you in 1 second. One other point I want to make. This list of properties that we were given, we're under the impression that we're only talking about acquiring 5 property investment properties.
Correct.
Is that your take on it?
5 property investments and SMWC.
And what?
SMWC.
Yes, that's news today. That wasn't, my understanding was 5 property investments was the focus of what you were doing.
So
Now suddenly, there's an added player.
So, sir, I don't understand why that has any standing in today's hearing. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to understand why we're bringing up another property from
Because
the
of
deal.
Right, it's part of this agreement.
It's part of my deal, right? I gave you my deal, right, with another entity.
Okay.
Right? I'm giving you full access. That's why I put everything in here.
Yes.
If I wanted to not give you full access, I would have just put the 3 properties that are in question, right? But I put all of them. So, because I'm trying to be open and I'm trying to be honest with the board about what I'm doing.
Got it.
I'm not hiding anything. I'm trying to be fair with you guys. I'm trying to, make you guys see that I'm not 5 properties. I'm not the same people who were just, who you have issues with. I'm different than them. The only reason why that $15 fee wasn't paid for each one is because they didn't give it to me. And I wasn't paying any more of my money to get that across. I'm not doing it. So I then came up with a plan to buy it all. That's why it took me 2 months to get this from January. I had a plan from January when I came back in, agreed to come back in. I had a plan was to buy all of them. So I came in January, I put a plan together from January to March, and a deal got signed in March. And I'm trying to work with the board now to mitigate all of these issues.
Okay. But upon hearing that you're not interested in rehabbing 331 Perry Street, you want to turn around and sell it to somebody.
If the board is okay with tearing it down, I'm fine with it. I'm just trying to get it out of my hands.
That's what's on the agenda. Motion for demolition. That's where we're at.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion for demolition.
I have a motion to proceed with demolition of 331 Perry Street. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I had one question. What would be the issue with allowing somebody to come in and buy the property? What is the, like if he were to list it and say, for example, somebody with more capital came in and bought the property?
There's a demo affidavit that was filed, so they'll see that if they do a lead search, but if they don't, they won't know that there's a demo affidavit.
So, but if it's
filed.
fully disclosed to them that there's a demo affidavit?
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if it, being as, we can't talk about anything that's not right here in this hearing, but the market being what it is, there's a motion and a second, but I'm not going to vote for the demolition or to deny the appeal at this time, because I think there is something to be considered. So if I were to make a motion, it would be to approve the appeal, so, and just to give it a little more time.
It's already been said. Yeah.
Through you, Chair, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Yes,
So that has to be ruled on.
we have to vote on it.
But just from a procedural standpoint, I think if Ms. Johnson wants to amend it, I think the motion shouldn't be to demo because it's already scheduled to be demo. It's either a motion to deny the appeal or a motion to grant the appeal.
Correct.
Okay.
Would you care to rephrase your?
I want a motion to demo it. So
Deny the
that's
appeal.
denying the
Deny
the
the appeal. What, because I don't even know if there's an appeal here, according to what you said. If he appealed this.
You're making a motion to deny the appeal, is that right?
I want it demoed, whatever it needs to be.
But the process is to.
Okay, if that's what it is, to deny the appeal, yes.
And the second.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. We have a roll call, please, on vote.
Mr. Gundelsberger,
Yes.
Ms. Warner,
I'm going to recuse myself.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes,
Mr. Sharai,
Yes.
Ms. Mazunga,
No.
Motion passes. Thank you. Why don't you have a seat and we'll have Inspector come up for the next round.
This is 21?
521.
736.
736?
Oh, is that what you're going to do? Okay, we got it backwards here now.
What you mean? I'm holding on. Just wanted to find it.
Okay. Okay, I've just been advised by legal counsel that we don't need to hear these two cases on 736 Park Street, 521 Perry Street, because they have been acted and denied. So we can move forward.
And just for the record, go ahead. But just for the record, on behalf of the city, Justin Harris, Angie, if you could, for the record, indicate when the actual appeals hearing was held for 5 properties on these 2 properties.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at the affidavits right now. Ken Nixon is on 736, so, but I know that they did not file an appeal. And then the 521 is what Dante has, so we will. It was filed 521.
It was recorded at 5, yeah.
But it says the Housing Appeals Board. No, it's the same thing. They didn't appeal them.
Right.
The Housing Appeals Board did not rule, but they did not appeal. They had their time to appeal, and they did not appeal.
And when was the initial citation?
Oh. This one was Ken Nixon.
Both of these, didn't you?
It started on August 6th of 2018. His last inspection prior to a search warrant was 3/3 of 2022. 3/8 of 2022 is when he did a search warrant to get the percentage, but it had been years of
So the initial,
inspections. The initial was 8/6 of 2018.
you get that?
Just for the record, on behalf of the city, at least legal counsel would like to note that these properties, 736 East Park Street, 521 Perry Street, were issued citations, I think as early as 2018, and more recently, they're outside the time limit to have appealed. My understanding is that the code compliance did accept an appeal on July 10th, 2023. My understanding in speaking with the city, it was under the auspices that it was a new owner. Today, there was testimony that 5 properties, the company still is the owner, but was acquired. 5 properties, timeliness to file appeal has since passed. So frankly, this board doesn't have jurisdiction to hear an appeal.
Okay.
So those are, since they weren't appealed, 736 Park and 521 Perry, since they weren't appealed, it's an automatic demo, right?
Correct.
Yep,
Thank you.
affidavits were filed.
Okay, that takes care of that.
Even if we were already working on still 521 Perry?
Five properties.
We're
investments.
currently working on 521 Perry. Even if we are still working on 521 Perry, is the demolition still going to happen even though we're currently working on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The demo will proceed as scheduled. If
What was the date of the demo? We already had them slated, correct?
Yeah, they were slated to come.
They were on the demo list, and then subsequently they were removed.
So they should have already been demoed, really.
So for purposes of today, the Housing Appeals Board lacks jurisdiction to hear an appeal because the appeal was untimely.
I understand that.
If 5 properties wants to enter into a deal with the city or sit down with the city and work out something aside from that, obviously the city and Mr. Sanders can enter into a deal, but there's no legal process that could be put in place to stop a demo if the city proceeds with the demo. So in terms of proceeding with repairs, it's almost proceed at your own risk. I mean, I don't want you to put money into something that is going to be demoed by the city. But if you want to sit down with the city, I haven't had an opportunity to speak with our city manager or code enforcement and Mr. Tom to see if repairs of those 2 buildings are practical or something the city wants to entertain. But I would, if I were you, I would recommend setting up one of those meetings with the appropriate people and see. To my knowledge, it hasn't been placed on the, was it on the commission agenda?
No, it
For
hasn't
approval?
been set up.
So it hasn't even been bid?
It's not set up for the next round. Even if they had been denied today, all 3, they wouldn't be in the next round. So we're looking at fall.
Yep, so there
At the
is
earliest.
time, but legally, there's nothing by way of this appeals board that could stop a demo.
So you're saying if the city wants to use discretion, they can, but that's if the city wants to use discretion. Otherwise, legally, they're going down.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, with no further business, I'll move for adjournment.
We'll move.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, he's back.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Give them back to him.